This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
All right, good evening and welcome to the episode of the Farron Dozier Show, the Trench Talk edition. Last week we had some technical difficulties, so I'm going to just make sure that if this theme song is going to play or not, I don't want to have it playing in the background and I don't even know. So let's check and see if the Trench Talk theme is going to play this week. Ah, there it is. All right, so we're going to let that play out. Again, thanks for listening into the Farron Dozier Show on MB Radio. That's right, MB Radio, the station that gives veterans a voice. I am one of those veterans that they gave a voice. This is the Farron Dozier Show. I just want to say thank you to the MB Radio platform for allowing us to be here and, you know, have these conversations from a veteran perspective, but also there are things that we all care about, right? And so why not have a place where we can talk some veteran conversations, but then also have what's going on in life, right? So you know me, I want to have these discussions because I really truly believe that as a human being, we're all related, right? And the way that we label one another, the way we have opinions about how we label one another, how we talk about one another, it just disconnects us, right? And so some of us veterans in environments were trained and taught that civilians are not going to understand us. And what I discovered coming out of the military, I don't understand me. So then why would I put all that pressure for you to try to understand me when I don't understand me? So here we are having these relatedness conversations. I have a great show for you today. Surprise guest co-host today also around the 45 mark. We are going to do a Life Towards Sports conversation with Coach Will, and he has a guest. So make sure you tune in for that again around the 4:45 hour of the show. Before I get started and bring up our current guest for today, I just want to touch on some information that I advocate for. Again, this is Rhabdomyolysis Awareness Month. It is for April. I had a great guest last week. Cody was here sharing his story about his experience during the New York Marathon and collapsing from his rhabdomyolysis experience. And so we all joined together with the Rhabdo Foundation to bring awareness all month long. So on KCAA on Sunday night, I have a female veteran who experienced some rhabdo issues in her career. She's going to be on the AM/FM channel on Sunday night. So I want to just share with you my website that I focus on the rhabdo conversation. So I'm gonna go to Windows here. No, that's not even it. You ain't want to do. Hold on, where's it at? Cancel that. So I want to just show you the website that I have that we talk about our rhabdomyolysis conversation. The audio's there. Where you at? Oh, there it goes right there. All right, here we go. So we're gonna share that screen there. This is my screen. All right, so this is the platform where I have most of, when I say check out the farrond.com page, this is where all of my community outreach, my basketball teams right now are located. So if you go to the top of the toolbar, you'll see the part for rhabdo. So on the website, everything that I discuss about rhabdomyolysis is on this tab. Again, I collapsed in the military from this. The military are doing studies on African soldiers to figure out why some of us have this experience with our sickle cell trait. You know, and yes, they're studying African Americans because we are number one. Okay, so I'm good with that. We are number one with sickle cell trait, but anybody can get rhabdo. That's the thing. Anybody can experience rhabdo, but you know they are studying the African American soldiers. So this is one of the times that I was at Camp Roberts, where I go about 10 times, 12 times a year to do my talks. And so I'm going to play this and see if it plays. So school approved that. I went back to sleep to lay down. About 2:30 or so, I started feeling worse. I was throwing up, almost crapped on myself, like I was in a very bad state. Of course, at 16:30, they go back to the barracks, my classmates, and they rush me back to the hospital that night. The night doctor does the blood work, and he sees that my CPKs or my CK levels, creatinine kinase levels, were 12,000. And my H36, they're supposed to be about 150. So that's 12,000. He also discovered that my kidneys were at 50% each and failing. So they diagnosed me with a condition called rhabdomyolysis. Anybody heard of rhabdo before? What do you know about rhabdo? Anybody else?
So when we do the pre-screens for applicants, one of those is rhabdomyolysis, and I didn't know what that was. So I know about it because I've read it.
Yeah.
But I just always put no.
Appreciate that. So that's what they diagnosed me with. Rhabdo. It took me about 4 days before I could get out of the bed at the hospital bed and walk with the IV machine to the bathroom, pee on my own. That was took about 2.5 years trying to figure out what happened to me. My doctor back home said, you know what, you just can't run anymore. I'm like, all right, cool. I've seen people with worse conditions in the military, so I'm like, I can get a profile, do the push, the walk, or the bicycle. I don't swim, so I can't be truck. So I turned that paperwork in to the state. And so that's just, you know, one of the videos that I have that describes about rhabdo. But again, you can go to this tab and I have all the basic, just the basic information that covers rhabdomyolysis for you to read. Again, anyone can experience rhabdo because there's so many different things that can trigger it, right? So there's one aspect of it, which is my aspect of it, which was the sickle cell trait. There are about 1,000 other red blood cell conditions that could also trigger this conversation as well, like thalassemia trait, C trait, OARAB, Monroe, each. There's like a bunch of different red blood cell conditions because those red blood cells carry oxygen throughout the body. And so sometimes if you overexert yourself, and depending on the condition that you have, it can trigger, and you're dehydrated or you have a cold or an infection, it could trigger that body to react. And those red blood cells can then either, like mine, mutate, which means I lost about 40% oxygen to my body, which then, you know, we're trying to figure out what happens first. Does the rhabdomyolysis happen first, or does the sickle cell trait mutation happen first? Now we can't, you know, there's no proof of which is which. So there's a conversation in the medical field that sickle cell trait doesn't cause this conversation, doesn't cause cardiac arrest. However, it is a trigger in the condition of rhabdo, right? So then are we going to try to deal with the chicken or the egg? Which one came first? Are we going to try to figure out how to help people get a better understanding of their bodies and the genes that they carry? so they can start to take care of themselves, right? And be live and be healthy. This is another, when I used to be on LA Talk Live years ago, I did an interview with the doctor who's doing the actual rhabdo and sickle cell trait study for the military at the military college. So I have an interview with him that we talked about the symptoms, and I shared my experience with him. And again, these are just some of the clips of what and how rhabdo can show up and express itself. A lot of times you hear about rhabdo is connected to the CrossFit, because when you're doing CrossFit exercises, there, of course, there's no water, right? Because you're doing repetitive drills from one drill to the next drill to the next drill to the next drill. So you don't take any breaks to get water. You know, that's not saying it's a wrong or right way, but for some, they need water. And even when you talk about coaches and what sports looks like, sometime in athletics, water is weakness. Are you going to go hard, or are you going to go get some water? Right. And so these are the things that we're trained and accustomed to hearing. But yet now, for some odd reason, these things are starting to show up more often than others. And so rhabdo is one of those conditions that has been expressing itself more than to us as advocates, more than rare, as what the medical books has to say about it. So with rhabdo, the causes: direct muscle injury, you got drugs, you got excessive muscular activity, genetic disorders, immunologic diseases, infections, all these different things, medications. So the medication that's triggers this rhabdo experience is the statin drugs. So like cholesterol medication. So some people are, you're taking your medicine to get your cholesterol levels down, and you're exercising. Well, guess what? For some, that statin drug can trigger that rhabdomyolysis, right? And so they're having issues with that. Temperature related. Today, this is what's wild, and we're going to have a talk about this month. But children today, because of this new influenza virus that's going around, because they're having temperatures of 104 or higher for long periods of time, they're starting to experience rhabdo, little children, right? So that is something that's important. We're going to have that talk this month as well. I'm working on an interview with that. And again, toxins. So these are just what we know today are some of the triggers of what can cause rhabdo. And then these are the health and safety topics that I talk about: sudden death, skeletal muscular disorders, how it impacts the body, what the CDC has to say. You can click on there and read about the CDC information, what blood work, definitely the creatinine kinase levels, or the CK or CPKs. Those are the numbers that you want to check. This is a PSA that I did in partnership with my Ventura County Orcas. They sponsored one of our tournaments this past season. And so I in return of her contribution, we had a campaign with her during our season. And again, this is just more about rhabdo and what you need to know about it. And then, of course, I have my campaigns. That's when my beard was a little bit thicker right there. I was growing it out. But you can go and click on this information. Again, I have more interviews. This one was with Dr. Pei. This one was one of my first early on talks where I had a holistic doctor come on and talk about rhabdomyolysis. And he shared some stuff with me off the air that he couldn't say on the air of what could be some triggers as well with that. And here's another doctor. Dr. B came on my LA Talk live show. Where me and Big Dre met at over there with that beautiful studio. And these are just some of the talks that I do throughout the year around sickle cell trait. This is another talk that I did here. That's about 5 minutes. But this is the rhabdo talk, right? This is what is important to me. Again, athletes, parents, coaches, people that's you just going to the gym to work out, 24 Fitness, or you just going to try to get your body in shape. You got to be aware of these kind of conversations. And then I was able to do a talk. I was in TV Broadcasting Academy, Radio Academy at this one, and my assignment was to listen to the radio and take notes and kind of hear the broadcasters in the talk. So I happened to stumble on this radio station, and there were some doctors talking about some medical conditions. And so I called in, and they literally had a conversation with me. I want to play just a little bit of that one for you. This is me driving to the school doing my assignment, but I had to call in and ask my question.
One that is impaired to get the information.
Is it Farron? Is it Farron? Go ahead. What's your question? Hey, doctor, my name is Farron, and I wanted to know if you could describe rhabdomyolysis.
Well, rhabdomyolysis is a disease in which the kidney sort of gets overwhelmed with some breakdown of tissue, muscle tissue primarily, and you are put into a kidney failure. This can happen. Did this happen in your family, by the way?
It happened to me. So I'm a retired Sergeant First Class United States Army, and I experienced that after doing the 2-mile run and almost died from it.
So what happens, and by the way, thanks for your service. And
Thank you,
what does happen is that your muscle tissue breaks down and it has to get processed through the kidney. It clogs up the kidney, just for simplistic analysis. And the kidneys stop working. So you actually have to go in sometimes.
Well, wait a minute. What if he was on a run? What could have caused that?
So you can go to the website and check that out. That was a great experience to be able to do my assignment and actually get on the radio and talk about this condition and get some information from the doctors, which, you know, and like I said, I'm not a doctor or a physician or researcher. I'm just a patient advocate. But, you know, you got to learn about your conditions. You got to get some knowledge so you can learn how to take care of yourself. And sometimes when you go to the doctors and you may know more about your condition than they do, it's not right or wrong. We're not trying to, you know, tell them what to do, but you got to learn about what your health is and what you're dealing with. And so you got to gain that knowledge and get some understanding and then apply those things to your life. And so just all of this stuff right here is important. You ever heard about G6PD? Again, that's another deficiency in the red blood cell. And so some people walk around with sickle cell trait and G6PD. Right. So that's my advocacy work. I appreciate you. If you want information, you can go to that tab, click on there, and just follow along and reach out to me if you have any questions. But these are the things that I'm working with outside of, you know, my sickle cell trait talk and the basketball. All that's connected to the advocacy work. So again, thank you so much for listening, tuning in. I have guests here, some very important topics for you today. So we want to bring them to the stage. But before I do, let's play our public service announcement. Shouts out to Calmigo. They are a device that helps with breathing. Sometimes people who are dealing with stress and anxiety, like myself, I don't want to deal with no drugs. I took those drugs, felt like a zombie, didn't like that experience. So I found, you know, some personal development work. But sometimes you can regain your life experience and calmness with just some levels of how you breathe. And so this is Calmigo right here on the Farron Dozier Show, Trench Talk Edition.
Some of us still carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Calmigo. Calmigo is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes in moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia, not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Calmigo decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit Calmigo.com to learn how you can get Calmigo through the VA or with a special veterans discount code.
Zetovia salve, made from natural and organic ingredients, good for inflammation, poor circulation, hemorrhoids, yeast infection, lip sores, dry coughs, eye pain, minor cuts and bruises, and ready to purchase at botanicaherbalco.com. 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 Do you remember studying sickle cell in biology class? What's the Count on Sickle Cell Trait Prevention is here to bring you awareness, education, and prevention conversations around the risk factors of this inherited gene. Visit WDCONSCT.org. This is Farron from the Farron Dozier Show, 8 p.m. Pacific Time on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAA Radio.com website, the station that leaves no listener behind, and MBR Radio. That's right, MBR Radio on all their streaming platforms, including MBR Radio on Roku TV, Sunday nights live, 8 p.m. Pacific Time on KCAA Radio and MBRradio.us. The Farron Dozier Show. For more information, search farrond.com. All right, again, this is the Farron Dozier Show, the Trench Talk edition right here on MB Radio. I want to say MB Radio. Let me say that again. This is the Farron Dozier Show on mbradio.us. Wednesdays. See, I can't even speak. When you want to say something right, you just can't get it right. So let's take 5. All right, this is the Farron Dozier Show on mbradio.us. Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Again, thank you for listening in to the Farron Dozier Show on MBR. Got to do a little drop right there. All right, so let's get started. Shouts out to Big Dre, man. Big Dre, since we connected the last few months, man, just so much has opened up with us, just on the same kind of path of taking care of the community and the relationship with people, and just trying to do our best to help people in their life. And so Big Dre's here again. What's up, man?
Hey, to all my service people, it's an honor to be here every Wednesday with you, my brother.
Appreciate you,
thank you, man. Shout out to all my veterans, men and women from all our Air Force, Navy, Air Force, Marines.
Yeah.
And for folks, who served and the people lost their lives, our souls and gratitude go out to your family members for your losses, and our people are dealing with PTSD. We call it the trench talk, and how we trying to get your mindset right. But keep tuning in, my boy Farron Dozier, and you will get your mind right. You gotta listen.
You gotta listen. You gotta be willing.
You gotta be willing.
That are willing to do the work. We're here to share some of that, some of those insights.
Exactly.
Right?
So how you doing today, brother?
Man, I'm good, man. Just just looking back today, thinking about the different shows that I do, and I did Beyond 2D yesterday. We were talking about choices versus decisions. And so that's something that I learned through the personal development and education that I take. And so we're doing 4 episodes of the impact of choice versus decision. And so yesterday was episode number 1. A lot of people don't understand the difference between the two. There is a difference in your experience of making a choice or making a decision. And so that was a good episode.
Your boy, Jay Prince said, we got a chance to choice every day wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
Chance for a choice, man. And you make a chance, every chance you make it at home is always slim, but the grace of God, you make it home every night to sit down and have dinner with your family, your friends, your loved ones. So shout out to my boy Jay Prince, and his philosophy of doing life, But it's true, having experiences, in the military, even if you went for a stint like I did, injuries, and you had 21 years, you're running, all of a sudden, sickle cell, bam, something you would never even thought.
Yeah.
My son has a trait, what my middle son does, and my oldest boy, he just found out he had a vitamin D deficiency, that he had no vitamin C cells in his body, vitamin D at all.
At all?
And the doctor said they don't understand how he even it's like.
Oh my God!
It was crazy. He said he walked around here, and all of a sudden the doctor says he did a test for his social worker. He's a social worker now, Sam. He did a test, came back. Doctor said you have no D vitamin in your body.
What?
It's like where was you at when it was a little bit? I didn't remember having no problem with insufficiency when it come to their blood and nothing.
Yeah,
but, it just showed you someone was somewhere was praying for him.
No doubt,
and,
man.
And it's like so you just never know what God has in store for you and what you do things. That's why I tell the world, we here on the grace of God. We're not here at choice. We're here because of the grace of God.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Still some work to be done. Still some work to be done.
Exactly, man. So that being said, our guest, man, Linton is something who I met through a friend, Chris Corrales, a good friend of mine, met him, said he had this ideal that he's going to talk to us about, ladies and gentlemen. He can't give away too much because he's still in the process of trying to get it to the
Yeah.
Believe me, have an open mind for you listeners and you other people listening who are watching. Have an open mind to understand what he's going to talk about. He's going to bring it.
You remember when we had to talk about what happened to you with the pistol and all that before?
Yes.
So I did my my DOJ school, right? And guess what showed up?
Yep.
I was like, I thought that was like, I knew it happened, but because I got fingerprinted, even though they gave me my pistol back, I'm still in the system for that stop.
Yeah.
And I had 1993. This is the first time I've seen it on paper since 1990, and I've got
So now
I got,
Now you
I got
know.
global. I got global entry. I got
Yep.
passport. None of that
All
ever
that.
showed up on none of
Showed
that.
up. Because you know why? Society is trying to put jackets on us, and that's why we deal with. You know,
I
and
just
it's
laughed. I
yeah, I
laughed.
laugh too, and that's why
I
I'm running
was
for city
like,
council. I want people to know this is what's going on in America every single day.
yeah,
You got people saying, "Well, who built America? Who this and that?" Don't erase the history that's here, evolutionized. Why erase something that you know for a fact that we have something to do a lot of it, and you still try to erase it? So it's a shame that we have to deal with this. And majority of my friends, majority of my friends are of Caucasian descent, European descent, and they don't believe in the same thing. They believe in stuff I believe in. Give people that just do.
Yeah.
So how do we feel? Yeah, go ahead.
And I know this is important because I mean us as veterans and soldiers or service service members of different branches, I mean you become part of that weapon, right? So I never shot a weapon besides a BB gun until I joined the military with M16, right? And then the 9mm, and then the saw, all those that I ended up being a supply sergeant, keeping track of those weapons also, right?
Exactly.
But just learn, just being around weapons, we're desensitized from that weapon, right? We get desensitized, we become killers.
All that stuff, man. I'm a strong believer in the Second Amendment. I believe everybody had a right to bear arms. Watching you tell us we can't bear arms, but see, if you had more open states, you wouldn't have any gun violence because you wouldn't really. No one want to try you at a McDonald's with everybody cracking.
Man, I think about if I was back in the cowboy days. I think I'd have been shot a long time ago, though. I'd have been like taking 10 paces, like, nah, let's get this.
Let's get it over with. Yeah, I'm going to Boot Hill.
I can't imagine living in that era, bro, when they were carrying pistols like that, like every day. That's how they like.
It's how they roll. That's how they roll. And I always see myself being a modern day Wyatt Earp. I'm not gonna I ain't take no crap off nobody, but I'm not gonna pull my gun on you either. You know what I mean?
Dennis back there laughing like, what are y'all talking about?
Yeah. I'm not gonna pull my crap out. I'm gonna pull it out and say, hey, you guys freeze that milkshake. Don't you take me out of it, that McMuffins. So
but on a serious note, this conversation today again is very important for us. We know that we have rights to bear arms. We also even though you got the right doesn't make it right, because there are consequences, there are unforeseen consequences that can happen. We're going to talk about some different things that people are dealing with in life that they use weapons for, especially guns, and it's just not a I don't even want to say how I want to say this. It's just a controversial discussion about the right to bear arms. So we got today. Linton is here, man. How you doing today, man?
I'm fantastic, and I appreciate you guys having me on. And I am not a veteran, but deep respect. Always have, always will. I was raised by a World War II vet. So
wow. So you got some.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
You got some stories. Some wild stories.
No, my dad didn't talk much about it. He's been gone a little while now, but he didn't talk much about it. But he served. He did his time. He came back, and it's just you're talking about PTSD and things like that. What we're looking at here and what we're going to talk about a little bit, you'll see how it addresses that too, a little bit. Okay, all sorts of different things. So, we can talk about or enter it however you want.
Before we get started, what do you want to say about Pops? This is a military platform, so what do you want to say about Pops?
My father?
Yeah.
Well, he joined quite young. He was at the tail end, and he didn't talk much about it, but after he passed, we did find some medals and things like that he had.
Oh, wow.
More hand-to-hand combat. And the only thing he really ever said was, he goes, I met some fine gentlemen that were willing to die for their emperor, and I was there to help them.
Wow.
That's about all my dad ever said about it. He never talked about it. He had a tattoo on his arm from a platoon, and him out of them, just only a few of them came back.
Yeah.
And came back, got married, built a life, gave me a great life, silver spoon, and I quickly had it bronzed, but no, we were raised in Southern California. It's good. My dad he was a great man, very well known around Orange County and stuff. And
Well,
That's
salute
cool.
your father,
That's
man.
cool. Yeah.
Thank you on behalf of us for your father's
paving
service.
the way for us, because for our great career that we had, man. So yeah, those generations really didn't open up, about what they saw, and you can only imagine why. That's why I say I want civilians to be able to use their imagination, use it for everything else. Imagine you being in an era of that, right, and growing up and then having to go through those experiences. Yeah, we can't walk in his shoes, but you can definitely experience what would you do in those situations, and that's all we ask.
At 18 years old or something,
right?
I could barely take care of I
Right?
couldn't take care of myself. And you guys enlist and go in and do these things. So I have great respect. I was just at the age where I just had to register for the draft, but they didn't have a draft.
Yeah.
Okay. Giving away how old I am. But, all right.
No, but thank you. Thank you for hanging out with us today. Really appreciate it.
Of course. No, I'd love to talk about what we got going on and kind of introduce it a little bit out there, because it's new. It's cutting edge stuff, and it's a whole different way of looking at gun safety.
So let's just go right into it, because I'm gonna listen to you, just what you can share about the project so far, and then I have some why questions directed to you on why this is important. So let's go ahead and just share what you can share about that conversation first.
Well, our platform, we call it the platform. It's Secure Firearms Platform, SFP. And basically it's a holistic solution, and it's beyond the band, meaning everything now is about banning guns, certain types of weapons, or who can have them, and all these kind of things like that. And I don't think you can make laws that are going to do that, because all they do is directly or indirectly attack the Second Amendment, which I, like Big D, is a firm believer in the Second Amendment. Okay. But quick side story is my wife's from Venezuela down there. First thing they do when Chavez came in and made it, first thing he did is take away all the guns.
Yep.
Giving everybody money and all the guns, first sign. So that's why I'm a believer in the Second Amendment. But this is a holistic way of looking at gun solution and addressing the root cause, which if you look at it, I'm going to get into some other details too, but if you look at it, every school, we'll talk about different dimensions of it, but school shootings, almost every single one, and any, of the person, the perpetrator who survived, every single one of them said they were suicidal. They felt isolated. They 80% of them had some kind of childhood trauma. All these things. Okay, so there's triggers, there's signs out there. Why isn't anything that data, which is already there, and predicting things? So this is AI driven, machine driven. So it'll get fed data and it'll come up with risk factors. How does it get the data? Real quickly, it's a portal that school administrators, law enforcement, medical professionals, social workers have the ability to log in and report any changes in behavior. Now, if you have a child in school, suddenly they're isolated or the parents have concerns, they talk to the school administrator about it, nothing ever happens. Okay, that's what gets me. And then innocent, and I got 2 granddaughters, and the innocence of these school shootings just hits me very hard, as it does all of us, And I mean, you got about 125 gun-related deaths every day. Okay, so what this does is this collects all that data. You have the school administrator putting in something, maybe that he saw a psychiatrist or a psychologist. You don't know what they talked about, because then you get into HIPAA laws. So it's just, you just put that, okay, they had a visit there. This was reported at school. Oh, and there's guns in the house and ammunition. Okay, and it puts these things together and runs risk factors. And we know AI just gets better and smarter every single time. Humans don't. Okay, we tend to get dumber. We tend to get.
We have the ability to grow.
Yes, yes, but we tend to get numb to it almost.
Yes,
now there's school shootings and these there's shootings happening all the time, and they're not even reported on, and we're kind of become a little bit numb to it. And you can't make laws to prevent this. Okay, so you got to look at it as a prevent. So if you can predict something, you have a chance of preventing it. And this is what that does. Plus, there's many other aspects of it about, registering your firearms. In California, that's what we're focused on. You have to keep your weapons locked in a safe or a secured lockbox, correct? Away from the ammunition.
Yes.
How does anybody verify that? There's no verification process of it. Okay. Like you run a stop sign, somebody sees you, you get a ticket. Okay. You don't lock your guns up. Who knows? Who's going to report that? They're not going to report themselves. So ours is you take a picture of your safe. Okay. Also, it would restrict you buying ammunition for a caliber of weapon you do not own. Okay. And tell me why we don't have, which other countries do, is we don't have serial numbers on shell casings. Think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
You pull up shell casings, you go, great. Oh, it's a 38. Now you can look at a number, you know who bought it. Okay. Those are just a couple of things that this does. Plus, what's going to get politicians' attention is it will generate $1.5 billion annually for the state of California, besides saving billions of dollars. Because we have statistics on our website, and every single one of them has a source, and you can see that how much gun violence costs. It's in the billions and billions of dollars. Okay, this is something I don't think Doge can do much about. So this is something that my partner has been developing for quite a few years now, and he's a brilliant software designer, and he's put this up, but he's not the guy who likes to necessarily do what I'm doing right now. Okay, so we partnered up. We're in other business ventures together, and he brought me in on this, and we've just finished it up over the last few weeks to where we have our website public, the app's done, and we're ready to kind of go. And what we want to do, our goal is to get this in front of Newsom, to kind of give his thumbs up on it and say, yeah, we want to do this. We want to make it mandatory. Okay, I want to hold gun owners liable. I want to hold gun owners responsible. You gentlemen are military. You are responsible gun owners, but there's a lot of people that aren't. You guys follow the law.
And I appreciate you, because again, there's some layers to this conversation that when we talked about it offline, but Big Dre was like, you know what, I can see, that this is one possible end result that we want to accomplish. But as you said in the beginning, a lot of these shootings, a lot of these gun violent issues come from what's going on in that person's life. What's going on in the heart of that man, right? Because
exactly
once I discovered, and this is just me recently, within a few years, once I discovered how much I love myself about 80%, right? So if I love myself 80%, there's a 20% of myself that I don't like about myself that I could tell the truth about, and I recognize that 20% is what I'm guarded in life with, up in front of me. And if you speak to that I don't like about myself, I might react to that, because you might be pointing something out about myself that I know that I don't like about myself, but you don't have the right to point that out, right? So this is how we react to life sometimes.
Triggers.
Then you have to look back, right? There's triggers, right? Yeah. But for some of us who don't know that or have that knowledge or understanding about how we be as human beings, a lot of those fractures, if I don't love myself, then I don't love you, and then that leaves the space for me to have these kind of gun issues, right? So I heard you say that you have your granddaughters, and a lot of us, I have grandchildren as well. For you, why is this concern so important for you? Is it just the granddaughters, or is it more than the human kind of a safety? Because let me leave it there. Why is it for you important?
Well, it's not from any personal experience.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody directly that has been injured or involved in any of these kind of workplace shootings or school shootings. But every time I hear about one, I go, there's signs. Why isn't this noticed? Why? And then who isn't affected by, you know, little kids, innocent kids, 5, 6, 7 years old, being killed randomly?
Right.
Who isn't affected by that deeply?
Right. Of course. Right.
You don't have to have kids or grandkids to feel that, but I think it makes it a little bit more. I think we're all grandparents here, and it hits you home. I mean, you love your kids, but kids are a way to get grandkids.
That's true. The fact, you know,
right?
And what you're saying, Linton, is so absolutely true, because I discovered a thesis what I did with my threat assessment training I had, but a stint where I did stuff at Homeland to learn the class I took for 19-week course I was certified for, was to see the signs of active shooters in schools. And we call it the shadow effect. When a kid's being bullied, he's in the back of the class, little Timmy sitting back there, little Michael sitting back there. All of a sudden, Timmy's hair go from blonde to dark hair, and he started getting black fingernails, polishes wearing, and no one paid attention to him. They didn't pay attention to him. He never answered the stuff on the chalkboard no more, because he was frustration building that. And then one day he goes home, looks on the internet how to put a 9mm together, how to shoot a gun. Now he's in the woods practicing how to shoot a gun with his parents at home. All of a sudden, the father comes home, work his gun's missing, and then now he joined the drugs. They try Percocet for the first time. They try Molly, all this stuff, and they go to school and turn into a terror. That's what happens. And the biggest, the number one in the nation was the one in Texas. 18-year-old kid shot all of elementary school teachers, and the police department did nothing. A bunch of cowards with guns. I mean, what do you train these guys in 8-week academy?
That's a tough. You know, there's some comments on our page here, and you know, and with the response to the app, you know, they're like, you know, we have the right to bear arms. You know, and yes, we do. That is true.
That's true.
And also, they don't really agree with it. More problems, you know, for the gun owners. Which that's one perspective to look at. Then he says, you know, we don't need more guns. We need gun control. We need, gun control. I mean, so those are things that, you know, we all have a view of that. You know, and again, I agree here. You know, most of the problem with people are shot is cultural. Yeah, there's a cultural issue. Guns and drugs don't make. We know that.
Yeah, we know that. What's the solution? You know,
right? What's the solution?
Accountability?
With your accountability, and what you're doing with the software you got, with your party care, what's accountability? Because I feel, and one day we are having a cold beer, and I'm frustrated having wifey problems. Now I ain't got no ammunition. I'm gonna go to Walmart, which is so easy going to get a gun. You go to Big Five back 10 years ago and get a shotgun and be 15 years old. Like you said, well, is that a pellet gun? No, I'm gonna get a shotgun. How old are you? 18. What's the? You just went in and bought a gun for $200.
Yeah, and you walk out of the store with the gun and ammo. You know?
So I'm like, and so now he's saying, not no more, bad guy. You're not gonna walk in there with problems and grab a gun without your serial number coming up when they run it. Oh, Dre just purchased 4,000 rounds of buckshots. What are you gonna do with 4,000 rounds of buckshots?
Yeah.
You gotta have accountability to that.
Exactly. You don't need to have 15,000 rounds. Okay.
At all.
There's just no need for that. Now, I'm not looking to. This has nothing to do with banning guns. It has nothing to do with any of that at all. It's about holding gun owners responsible. And here's another aspect: is when you sell a car, what's the first thing you do? You go in, log into DMV, release your liability, right?
Yep. The car.
Why don't you do that with weapons?
What's the matter with that? It takes a few minutes.
Yeah.
You have to register.
You go in. This releases your liability of that weapon, and if you don't do it, and so that weapon is used for something illegal, then
the last person who owned it,
you didn't do what you were supposed to do.
That's true.
So I am pro Second Amendment. I'm not about taking guns or restricting guns, or you can't own a certain amount of guns or anything like that. Not in the least.
Yeah.
This is to, but Farron, you get it. And you said it spot on. You see these differences in people's behaviors, but there's nothing putting all those pieces together. That's where we fill that void.
Yeah.
Okay. It's as simple as that.
So we got a comment again, and I like this. The solution is God, right?
Yes.
And that is also a true statement, right? Okay. Because again, as I was sharing, once you do the work and you discover you know, we talk about the bullying, right? All of us experience some level of bullying.
Yes,
all of us.
I got bullied all through it.
Right. I don't
Every
even think
subject.
any of us escapes a version of what it is to be bullied, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the accountability for the bullying and all the stuff that goes on in the schools, that has to also be responsible to the parent. The
All day
parent.
long.
Sometimes as parents, we disappoint our children. Sometimes we don't pay attention. We don't listen to our child because we got to work and whatever all life circumstances are happening. But this is one of the things that we see as a different from the gun control, is having the ability to teach these children how to express themselves and how to parent to listen to that child. If that child is able to go home and say, Mom, Dad, my friends are bullied, I'm getting bullied. Oh, okay, let's talk about that. What is the experience? What's going on? Go to the school and have some kind of resolution, instead of having that child, well, just, you know what, you just deal with it. Just, you know, and so some parents just say, just go deal with it.
My nephew,
whatever.
my nephew's grandson is being bullied at Normandy Elementary School in Los Angeles. And I'm part of PTA, and I went and sat down with the principal. I said, my training is, why you have a fourth grader bullying the third grader, pulling my nephew's glass on his face.
That's what I'm saying.
Pulling his hair, and he's afraid to do anything. So my teaching in the arts, self-defense, we don't teach these kids how to go out and beat people up. Martial arts is not made, it's for defense. Like Bruce Lee said, it's not for you to go out there and beat people up. It's for you defending yourself. That's all it's for. And then you have a chi. So it's like guns. The guns are to defend your family. But now if you go out there and grab a gun and start shooting at people because they look at you the wrong way. We're not safe to have a gun.
But that's what we're saying. That's what the problem is yes, we want to have gun control. Now, are you saying that a gun owner, you know, if they mandated everybody who owns a gun in California would have to take a picture of their lockbox, would have to register on this app? How can you have a person do that when you have the freedom
to carry?
To carry? Like, so is this an honor system, as you're saying, or are you thinking that?
Well, you have a right to carry. You have a right to carry, and
legally,
I don't think there's been a shooting by somebody who has a right to carry. I never found one. Okay, these are not, you know, they're not responsible in that way. That I don't think has any bearing. And this has nothing. This doesn't do anything about restricting. I believe in it. And Big D, you mentioned that a little earlier.
Yeah.
You know, I've spent a lot of time, and both you gentlemen have too, in Texas. You walk into a restaurant, it's not unusual to see a couple of guns sitting on the table.
Oh, Texas.
You are not doing anything. You're eating your food and getting the hell out of there. That's what you're going to do. Eat that food.
Right. People should be responsible for the ownership of their weapons.
Yes.
That's what this is about. And about, because, you know, a kid accidentally shoots himself. Why did he have access to that weapon? And that just the other day in Irvine here.
Yeah, so I heard about that.
Yeah,
and my two friends that was stabbed, remember, last year, it was 4th of July. We lost our friend. Two of my friends stabbed me from another kid at 20 years old. He had a knife, and it's like he just got out of the car and started stabbing people. He didn't know why he was doing it. He just figured he going through something. His father's a world famous gymnast coach. Said he trained the likes of Simone Biles, so the girls just won Olympic gold medals. But his son is running the street at 26. So where's the breakdown there? Like this person just said, teach your kids values of life. You can teach your kids anything you want until they're a certain age and they grow up being a serial killer.
But again, it's true. It's not gonna solve everything. But again, if we teach this stuff early enough for that child to have the Bible says, I'm gonna go back to his comment. The Bible says, honor your father and mother, that you may have your days to be long on this life or whatever. And so the honor your father and mother for me is not, I'm not gonna like or love you every day, but it's how I think about you. And the disconnection that happens is that child gets disappointed or whatever, makes up a story about that parent. And so now I can't talk to mom and dad no more for whatever reason, the story that I made up that might not even be the truth, but it's my experience of being disappointed or being left alone. So now I feel abandoned. My mom don't love me. Whatever that child makes up a story, that's enough to take that child off a trajectory of what we're talking about. That's the end result is the gun violence.
Amen.
It's about early, real-time intervention.
That's what I'm saying. And so I agree with this person that's saying, like, the parents got to be involved. I mean, this is something that, teach children the value. If I, like I said, I didn't get the value of life until my late 40s into 50s.
Bingo.
So if I didn't get that for myself in my 40s and 50s, I would I'd shoot you, fight you, whatever. But once I got how much I love me, it's like, oh, okay, well, hold on. There's a whole nother view of life that I don't want to hurt nobody today. But you got to be able to intervene and teach that. That's something that we just can't take by chance that's going to happen in that family. We may have to have some intervention at the family level. I say do what you say doing, but also some family intervention has got to take place, because if we don't, these are the
that's where it starts.
These are the results. Yes,
absolutely.
And I agree with the listener here.
Talking about solution. Yeah, solution is God. True to fact, solution is God. I come from a God-fearing family. My mother was a mother of a church evangelist. My father deacon. So I grew up in a church. I know for a fact, you say you I love mother, love father, thou shalt not kill. But I'm gonna explain something to you. I'm gonna break it down to you in one simple word: trust. Trust and believe. You got to trust yourself as a parent that you're doing the best you can to raise your kid with proper values and with godly values. And sometimes they don't turn up. I have a bunch of brothers my mother kept in church. My brother murdered 13 people. Rest his soul. He was a mobster, for a hitman for a mobster family. I'm not ashamed to say it. He did some things that wasn't great. And my other brother passed away, drowned, back in '93 in Lake Mead. Same thing. Like the person said, mother and father were drug dealers. What do you do?
What do you do? Yeah.
What can you do? Give it to God.
Those aren't parents, because the Bible, again, honor your father and mother, obey your parents. Obviously, those are not parents. Some fathers and mothers aren't parents. Let's just tell the truth, right? So these are the ways.
You ask God. You ask God to watch over them. Exactly. If you don't believe in God, find something you believe in.
Find something to believe in. And in the meantime, we got to have things like this app that's going to help prevent some of these things that are hurting innocent folks who have no business being threatened by a place where they're going to hang out. And I talked, when we talked on the phone the other day, Miss Linton, you was like, hey, I'm out with my wife and my grandchildren. Like I'm always on the lookout, right? Because of the
my head's on a swivel.
Thing. Yeah. On a swivel. And so how can you enjoy life when you're worried about that in the future of something happening? Like we shouldn't have, not that we shouldn't, but no one wants to live that life, man. Like there's no freedom in that. He can't even go to the place and hang out and enjoy his grandchildren with his concern of can something happen while I'm here? Like that's not a life we want. Yep. And this is why some of these things are important to have these tools, for people to protect outcomes, possible outcomes. And I like how you said risk factor, because as a platoon sergeant in the readiness NCO, that was one of my jobs. I would have to go out to the field, examine the area weeks before we actually went to the campsite to train, or the training site, to see what was in the environment, to make sure that, okay, there's foxholes, there's rattlesnake holes, so we can't sit up here because our soldiers might step in a hole and twist their ankle.
Bear trap by the dirt, all kinds of stuff.
Right. Yeah. So I appreciate you for saying that, because those are the things that I had to do for my soldiers, just so they can go and train safely. And we're trying to, we're attempting to create a safe environment. Any more about that, Mr.
Weiss? Yes.
Weiss.
I've been reading some of these comments, and a couple of them I don't quite understand, but most of them I do.
I don't either.
This is not restricting any gun owners or restricting you from having guns or the amount of ammunition you can have. Okay, it doesn't restrict any. We're not looking to restrict any of those kind of things. No. All the information is already there and being reported. Okay, but nothing is putting them into a central place and analyzing it. Humans will miss things. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
We miss things, and this is an AI and MI that won't miss these little details in these things. Now, one thing isn't a trigger. You start putting them together, if you look at and study back some of the mass shooters over the last 15 years, there's a lot of commonalities in them. Like 40, like it's on our website, 44% of shooters experienced early childhood trauma and exposed to violence at a young age.
That's that's enough to get some education out there.
44%.
That's close to 50%.
And you know what it is? They always say, show me the data. You got to turn the TV on every 30 seconds.
And you guys have visited our website. You see all the data we provide, and we provide, like I mentioned earlier, we provide the sources you can click on. 2 out of 3 mass shooters had a history of mental health concerns.
Yeah. Every day.
Okay.
You leave the house.
So you got half there, 2/3 there, and then you got 70% of mass shooters were suicidal either before or at the time of the shooting. 72%.
And what's your average game bang?
If you had connected these dots, you could have intervened.
That's a large. So before we get out of here, what for some of us, you know, we have AI, and you know, I use ChatGPT to do research on my sickle cell trait stuff and kind of find some missing pieces that I may not know. But then, you know, there's some of us on the other side of that coin that likes, is AI cool? You know, I know that the world is turning to this AI, you know, platform and to help us learn more. But how do you feel about AI? I feel AI is like the Force. You can use it for good, but you can use it for bad and evil.
Yeah, Luke, I'm your father.
Yes, Luke, I'm your father. Then he was my dad, and at the end, he was my dad. Like, so,
yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Now,
in the hands.
I would address that, but all these gun laws. There's so many gun laws and restrictions, and there's so many loopholes around them.
Right.
This is not a gun law that is restricting any guns or gun ownership. Okay, that's the big difference.
It's a tool.
Okay,
right? Did we say tool?
Yeah, it just takes all this information that's out there and analyzes it. But where I feel an AI is in the right application, I think it is incredible.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of wrong applications where it could be used and abused? Absolutely. In this particular scenario, all it's doing is gathering the data that's out there, put into one central portal, and analyze and come up with risks. And that risk can be sent in real time. You know, it can be done in real time. This is happening now, and it could possibly be acted on.
See the comment?
That's all it is.
I like that comment. I like that comment because you know, if you go to other countries or back in the day, like, hey, you
scary again.
You stabbed him with what hand? You cut that hand off. Like, that's the punishment.
Yeah,
you know, so I get the comment about make it scary. There's got to be some concept, even with the bullying situation, though, right?
Don't chew gum in Singapore.
Hey, but the bullying conversation doesn't have a real consequence.
Never do.
It doesn't have a real consequence.
Never do. Jimmy bullied me. Stop, Jimmy. That's what you did.
Yeah, and it doesn't connect anything that could be going on at home. On both sides, from the bullier and the bullyee.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Right. So we got to be able to take care of the whole conversation. Man, and I don't know about the eye for an eye though, because vengeance is his, not mine. So
not mine.
There's a difference.
No Charles Bronson. No Charles Bronson.
If I love me, I'm not trying to take your eye. I love my eyes, so I don't want none of your eyes.
I have pretty eyes. I have pretty eyes. I have Baby Williams eyes.
I don't know who that is, but I appreciate you for your comments today, whoever you are.
Yes, you are.
I like Ike. I appreciate
some great comments in here, and I understand that. Enforce the laws.
Yeah, so
you can't. You can't break them. Certain laws. They're just unenforceable, and I think there are some ridiculous gun laws out there. Some ridiculous ones about semi-automatics and stuff. Just a loophole. You can go right around those. Piece of cake.
How about this one? Shoot them, but you got to drag me your house.
That one I don't get.
Yeah, I know a guy right now, gentlemen, is doing almost 40 years to that. Because
for that,
he had a shop in Philadelphia. Myron Johnson, it was all on he shot some problems in this bill. He had to literally, they could have been somebody in there, lovers after your wife or something. How's it in my shop? And I shoot these dudes and they end up suing him.
You gotta call my that don't make no sense right there
at all. It's
I
like, come on.
In myself,
what kind of laws
house?
Thank you.
perpetrators' rights.
They got
Yeah.
rights. That's what I'm saying. They got rights. So, you know, I appreciate Mr. Linton Weiss because I see this definitely as a tool, right? I was thinking when you were talking, I have an alarm on my house to keep the honest man out. But if anybody want to break in here, they gonna break in here, right? So as we're saying, we can have, and I do like the fact, and because of my military analysis mindset that I have that maybe doesn't work in civilian life, but to analyze things is very important, right? And so I like the fact that you could put information in here and hey, you know what? Johnny's behavior, like me, you know, all of a sudden, why is Farron shy? Well, Farron used to be happy-go-lucky around the house, laughing and going around, but then all of a sudden Farron's shy, and then nobody trying to find out what happened to Farron.
Okay, man, yeah.
But,
All of a sudden,
he's just shy, and I'm labeled as being shy, and then nobody does anything about that. And then
shy with four shotguns in the truck and about 10,000 rounds.
Right. So I do appreciate your conversation, Linton, because it is, you know, we care for human. When you have love for human beings, man, you just want to have things in place that can help people.
I guess that's kind of what it comes down to. And anybody made any comments, they can go to SFP.com, SFP, securefirearmsprotection.com. It'll answer any and all questions. This is not a law that's restricting gun or gun ownership or ammunition. Now,
it's a tool.
A certain, you know, we would be looking maybe at limiting how much ammunition you can buy at one time. Okay, but the amount, no. And that's a small thing that we've just talked about, but there's just so many other aspects, and if somebody goes to the website, they can get into a lot more detail, and they can present questions and do all those things too, and look at the statistics. But the financial aspect we didn't talk that much about. It doesn't. I mean, don't mean to say that about, you know, that it's more important than lives or anything like that, but the financial aspect of it is way bigger than people think.
Yes, sir.
So I added my dear friend, Coach Will. We do shows together. Come on, man. Come off of mute, man. You're a father.
You know, if you're here watching the show. One quick question I want to ask and invite, you know, Coach Will, so he can unmute his mic if you want to. Coach, pleasure, my brother. This is the biggest thing I'm trying. I have 1, 2, maybe 4 guns. I found the Gatling gun about 11 years ago, old school one. Put the little everything right, and just imagine a world of gun-free world. Just imagine. Remember the movie Tom Cruise did? He predicting crime before it happened. Remember that movie Tom Cruise did? That's what I'm talking about. See, now this is what it sounds like with this tool you get is going to the point that hey, responsible. So like a coach will have a daughter at home by herself. He's out with the wife and enjoying dinner, and then one ex-boyfriend of hers decides he wants to go to him. You still know, hey, people gotta understand. So people who ask the tough questions gotta understand what is it. You know,
but like you said, the law. But if my child is authorized to have the weapon access and he shoots somebody, now, like you're saying, the law might go against him from defending himself, and those are the things that it doesn't match up.
It doesn't match up. Doesn't match up. We try to get the governor to understand before he leaves here. But they go the mic.
What's up, Coach?
How you doing, Coach?
What up?
Have you been watching the show?
Oh, every day. You know what I mean? I'm always tuned in.
So you hear me say, then what's your quick comment you think about what Mr. Weiss, this Linton Weiss, created this tool we got? What's your comment? What's your thought on that?
Well, I mean, I rather let me piggyback off of where you guys were at with it, like as far as the description, right? Like if I had a child at home and you know what I mean? There's a gun range around the corner from where I'm at now, you know what I mean? And I want to be able to treat you. You mentioned having a daughter. I do have a daughter. Exactly. And I want her to be able to defend herself by any means. You know what I mean? I don't think that is fair that we put those, you know, there's these like there's restrictions around that. And there's bias restrictions, and I think that that's where the conversation gets real heated at, because there's this bias restriction around it.
Exactly. Happened to me 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
No one should be in a situation where they can't defend themselves, right? Right. Like if you throw a right, I should be able to throw a right equally. But if you can throw a right and a left but I can only throw,
I left.
that's a bias in the situation. So that means we can fight, but I can only fight this way and you can fight this way. I don't think that that's allowed. So that means what I'm getting at here, a bit, tailored to the point, is with the officers and the military and other states. Other states. That's the biggest thing when you get into the whole having it, being able to do these things in other states. It's really unfair, right? Like a kid from California go to Arizona and get a rude awakening.
Yes,
because these kids, there's an open carry and they can, they can have guns and one of my
Coach,
players.
fix your camera, Coach. You sideways.
You sideways. You fell down.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm right here though, man. I ain't even go nowhere.
There you go.
You fell down and slipped the
fell. You have to holler at Apple. No, but I had a player who it was from Cali, went to Arizona. A friend got to purchase a weapon. And then long story short, he winded up having an accident that was really, bad for the family. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to the culture. Right. Yeah. So if a kid from California is being raised this way, I can't carry a gun. I don't even know how to handle a gun. But a kid in Milwaukee can come out with an AK or something like that and really know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Pay attention to social media. It's a real thing right now.
Yeah.
A lot of people think these kids who they're seeing on social media with the big guns and all that, they think they're like in LA and Chicago. Yeah. No, man, those kids are like Wisconsin. Those kids are in like Idaho. They don't have the same gun law.
Yeah,
right.
They're being taught to hunt, steal, and all that type of stuff.
And they're going cow tipping. Yeah.
Right. And you from California. We go back. I'm a Mississippi boy. We hunt like crazy. Well, if a kid from California come and what's a 30-30? I don't know what that is. It's like a
right.
That a documentary. They have it's a rifle.
Yeah.
My friends would come down and visit me and say, "Dude, what in the hell is that?" That's a deer. It's an 8 point. That's how many points on his antlers on the deer.
But I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a Cali kid. I didn't know that.
Exactly. So it's a certain law, but your tool is going to revolutionize. So it needs to be heard because I feel if I could carry my gun to McDonald's and say I want a Big Mac, and they say, well, I want a quarter pounder. You want to put your gun? You ain't gonna put no gun in the back because you bumped the line. I'm not putting no gun. I know you can put yours back.
Yeah,
okay, brother.
Yeah, unless they got some Lone Ranger blood in them, they may be like, let meet me outside in the back. Take 10 paces.
Take 10 paces.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's go take 10 paces. Let me go start this tonight.
Yeah, but anything else he's doing now, I think it's fair. Like you say, the Cali boy went to Arizona. In Arizona, them people are nutso gunzo. My nephew out there, he got about 85 guns. He's always on Facebook.
Yeah, I got a friend who left LA, went to Arizona, got about 15, 16 guns, and I got this now, and then I got this now. I got that. I'm like, I get it, but I understand.
Where's your mind at with them guns, though? That's the problem.
Yeah, wait, that was where I was gonna go to the biggest point here is that the people who get the guns and what they're obtaining the guns for, right? We were just laughing about guys hunting and guys using it for like cultural reasons, right? And then learning how to protect yourself in the process, the biggest goal.
Right.
But when you get in a situation where you got the life that we live in, right? And there is problems in LA, there is problems in Chicago, there is problems in New York, there's problems in Detroit, right? Like big time. And the focus is unfortunately tailored around the kids, but it's not about the kids and the young dudes that's doing it. It's about the tools they're being provided. And that's where I think that conflict starts to come back onto the why we should or why we shouldn't allow certain. So I think that my opinion on that is always going to be we should be able to have our
second amendment.
Absolutely. 100%.
And what you got, Linton, is unbelievable.
Check your mic. Check the mic, Coach. Check your mic, Coach. Check your mic. Your mic.
Yeah, my partner owns quite a few guns.
Yeah.
He's had custom built guns.
Yes.
He's very, very big believer. Yeah. And he feels the same way about the passion about the mass shooting. He goes, now with the technology we have, there is a way to predict these things.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said before, if you can predict it, you got a shot at preventing it. It's as simple as that. It's communication. the community, but you're never going to get the community involved. Everybody talks about these things. It's just not that realistic.
I truly, again, this is another comment that I could see that's a missing piece, because we go in communities. We gotta remember that these systems. I was thinking about this morning.
Yeah,
we talked about the system and the government system, but those are people. Those are people running those systems. And so when you talk about the community, is the community not the label? They're people, and I really believe that if we have these conversations in our community where people can start to self-examine themselves. And why is little Timmy having an attitude at school? Why does Timmy need attention? He's getting attention at school because he's not getting it from home. And so if you're not gonna pay attention to me as I'm doing a good thing, Mom, then guess what? If I gotta act up to get your attention, I'll do that. But then there's the consequences.
We should learn from the Columbine. We should learn from that.
Children don't have that sense of all that understanding and views and life, because they're trying to survive, that home. And if Mom is not listening to me, well, guess what? I'm gonna go join the gang because I got no sense of belonging is threatened and fractured. So
exactly.
And so like I said, I appreciate your app, because we need to be able to analyze this information. And if little Johnny's attitude changes, that might be enough to say, hey, come here, let me talk to you. It popped up that you went from this behavior to this behavior. What's going on at home? What's going on? We need to talk. What's going on? And now that might prevent that mass shooting at the school. You just never
maybe
know.
That's all it takes is a simple conversation and realizing it. It's as simple as that. And if you can have a tool that can maybe pop these things up once in a while, and with AI and MI and machine learning, it's only going to get better at it.
I think it's because for some people, as Coach was saying, when you put guns in the conversation, then that bias. Here we are talking about at the end of the day solving, home issues, right? And guns are just one. Are we gonna have a conversation about what knives do? Are we gonna conversation what brass knuckles do? We're gonna conversation with a BB gun, when you say guns and guns laws, people get a different perspective, and it's like, now you're taking away my rights.
I mean, it's a lot easier to shoot somebody than to stab them.
It's a whole different.
It takes a lot less. It's just a reaction, and that's why. I mean, it's not going to solve everything everywhere, but I think it's a real tool that we've proven with some examples that it can predict a few. And if you can prevent, my feeling, if I can have something to do with preventing one school shooking, make something worthwhile what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying that the teachers are the solution, but hey, let's talk about the elephant in the room. A teacher is a person, and they might be dealing with stuff in their own life as a teacher. There are a lot of people that go and get psychology jobs that are still dealing with their own mental health issues. Right. So we're not off the hook either. But
you're right.
And they might need some knowledge and understanding too, because if I'm hollering at you as a student, you might she holler at me like my mama does. You ain't be hollering at me. I'm not want you doing that. I already get that at home. So teachers, sometimes you don't need to be hollering at students because you have no idea what they're dealing with as well. So that's that human connection that has to be restored. And if it's not at the house, then the next place is where? Church or the school. So we got to get these conversations.
We can go down the whole rabbit hole of the violent video games and all those kind of things. There's lots of, we can go down those, but that's not what we're talking about. That's not this.
So the main thing is, you're right. And like I said, once again, we thank you for being on the show, man. Linton, Mr. Wise. We're gonna work extra hard to get this to the powers to be the right people by talking to people. Of course, the governor always said, well, we already have initiatives on the table. No, you don't. If you did, some of these initiatives would be stopped with gun violence. Why is a mother and daughter getting shot in L.A.? The dude's on the loose. This big Dante guy on the loose. Big brother. You can't miss him. He's 6'6". Big, but you can't miss him. But for some reason, you can't find him.
It's tough. So, it's like I said. It's about human beings and the opportunity to have life and live life. And even with this stuff in place, we see that it still happens.
Oh,
but this tool might be enough. Like I like it because even if you could use it to monitor behavior change, I like that aspect.
Yeah.
I like that aspect. As a veteran, we besides motorcycles, a lot of veterans when it comes to veteran suicide and what's motorcycles are one and weapons are one because that
22 minutes that takes your life.
That I can get to the adrenaline of being in the military is my Can-Am Spider right now.
Yeah,
because I can go fast, right? And so a lot of that adrenaline, you try to get that hit of adrenaline, it comes from that weapon in my hand sometimes, or it can come from that motorcycle. So those are the things that we got to be able to pay attention to those behavior changes because they do happen. Like you said, Mr. Linton, they do happen.
Yes.
And the parent doesn't recognize that and have the tools to say, oh, wait a minute, you're acting a little different. What's going on with you? Instead of glazing over that because I'm the parent and this is a one-way conversation. Like these are the things that we have to be able to take a look at and maybe feed that to the app. Maybe the parent feeds that in that app, like, hey, my little Johnny is not acting correct. And now the system gets to capture that. Whoever's monitoring that, like, okay, we got to see what's going on with little Johnny today because he something going on with him. I don't know. It's not a bad thing.
It comes down to I just really feel that parents need to be parents. A dad needs to be a father.
Yes.
A mom needs to be a mother. I mean, you know, I got a couple kids. It's, you know, it's easy to be a dad. That only takes about 15 seconds. Okay. But being a father is a lifetime commitment.
And being a parent takes more than just financial. It takes emotional. There's a lot. That's why the Bible says, honor your father and mother, but obey your parents. A parent is a little bit more. We can all be a father, but it takes to be a parent. There's some more than just giving money and following rules.
This is my grandfather. With the symbol right here, takes a village. Takes a village.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Takes a village to raise a family. So, but I thank you, man, Mr. Weiss.
We appreciate you for sure.
Man, for sure.
Hey, anytime, you guys. Love to come on, talk more anytime. Okay.
All right. I'm looking forward to talk to you next week for sure.
All right. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Appreciate you. Coach, what's happening, man? Oh, you're on mute, bro. Can't hear you, bro. You're still on mute. Can't hear that. Can't hear you. Yeah.
I had to get right. Cell phone.
What's happening?
Right.
I know. I see. He's giving you some challenges today. What's happening?
Yeah, I had to get off the cell phone. You know what I'm saying?
I go talk.
That was good talk, man. Fellas we're on point about you know that topic. That was a big conversation.
Yeah.
You know, most people are scared to have the tough conversations and how those things reflect on their families or their kids. People always talk about family, but like, what are the tough conversations around family?
Right.
What are the tough conversations around that? You know, you do want your daughter to be able to protect herself. I want my daughter to know how to fight. I want my daughter to know how to shoot a gun. Now, do I want her to have to be in a situation to do those things?
No, of course not. Of course not.
But she better know how to do something that, you know what I mean? She needs to know how to do something that put the fear in the person to have a filter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want a person to have a filter, and those things are important.
Yeah.
When with relationships, friendships, new connections. I tell people all the time, like, when you look at stuff how you grew up, if people had crews, right?
Right.
You run with this crew, and you run with these crews, and you're like, you don't really want to mess with them dudes. They, you know what I'm saying? They kind of
they on the edge over there. Leave them alone. Yeah.
Leave that group alone. You know what I'm saying? Then you got that group over there. You like, okay, they get the ladies over there. They do this. You know what I mean? You knew what it was, and so, but now it's different.
Yeah.
So your kid got to be able to go into any environment and be a survivor.
Right.
Kids now and young adults, I want to say kids. I mean, when I say kids, I mean, I do mean, you know, 8, 9 and above, you know, you got to have thick skin. You got to be real. I'll say it. This is going to sound funny, but you got to be like premature.
No, I'm teaching emotional intelligence currently on Fridays to 4th and 5th graders. Bro, they having issues like high school students. I'm listening to these conversations like, you're in the 4th grade. What are you talking about? Like, bro, it's life.
Right. What
8, 9 years old. Like, what?
what are we talking about here when we look at what are you going through in elementary? But nah, kids are malicious. Kids, and then it's not not intentional because they are at home being treated like they are the world.
Right.
We put our kids in the world, but hey, we are the world. Like that is your, when you're at home, you're their world. You're the best thing. You're the, you know what I mean? You get away with anything, and it's a whole deal. So, I would want my kid to know how to protect themselves by any means, period.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just only right, but it's only right though. But there are consequences, like you're saying. There are the mass shooting is the end result. We have to back that out and see, okay, what caused that? What was going on? Why couldn't we catch that sooner? And maybe that app can help catch those things sooner than later.
Yeah,
that's all. And I get it. It's not about the gun laws. It's not trying to change the laws.
Right.
It seems to be a tool that could possibly help manage behavior if that's the case. That's how I think it.
Definitely.
Because if you buy if you change your behavior and then all of a sudden you go buy 3 shotguns, it's like, well, I know Will said he had a problem at the house, but all of a sudden he didn't have no shotguns to 3 shotguns.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
That sounds like a standoff right there, buddy. That sounds like something going on. And he ain't going hunting either.
Like he got to get rounds. You got to get those rounds off.
Right. Exactly. So it's like, maybe something going on over there, but nah. Anything you want to touch on in the sports world before we get out of here, man? What's going on? What's going on with you, man?
We get into it. All season is crazy right now. It's a lot of transfers going on the high school level. A lot of good players getting positioned. I think that I'm gonna bring a large focus to the class of 25. The depth of the high school recruit. I feel like there were a lot of kids that got signed, but there are also a lot of kids that there was situational that had a lot going, and I want to be able to just touch on some of those things so that these families and the kids don't get discouraged. There's opportunity, and there's going to continue to be opportunity. You just got to continue to be ready, and keep your academics together, keep your body together, stay in shape, don't be out of shape. Like number one thing, don't be out of shape, and be ready. Work on your craft. Figure that out. Really, really work on your craft. So when they look, they can see an undeniable product. And that's really what some of my focus will be, and some of the focus will be around us going forward. That
whole football world is changing, huh?
Yeah, it's definitely evolved. I love it though. I love it. I'll just be honest. I love it. I think that it's great for the young men. I grew up, you had to wait to get to pros to get the money. If this type of stuff was going on, I know a ton of dudes that would be thousandaires at the minimum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That really had talent.
Yeah.
But
I'm saying like the portal and the transfer portal and the coach is saying, you know what? I'd rather get a guy from the JUCO line versus the high school line now. So how do you that's the part, like how do you help a family? Don't give away the sauce, but those are conversations because there's already a small group that's going to make it to the next level anyway, and now it's even a bit more challenging to get to that next level when you have all these reclasses, and I'm gonna stay back so I could get a bit more development, and then it's like all that, like that world is changing from when we grew up.
Yeah, no, definitely did evolve, and like I said, I'm excited. I'm good with it. It was a period of time, and there's going to continue to be growth and change in the developmental process of it all.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be looking forward to seeing how that goes. Right. I'm not going to be caught off guard. I'll continue to educate families and work with other partners and other companies and other brands to see where the evolution of this is going. I don't do this.
It's not going to stop.
I don't do it on my own. You know what I mean? I definitely, cross-reference the entire, progress of this thing with other affiliates and other associates that really want to help kids, right? Because it's tough. So those in between trainers and those in between coaches and position coaches at the high schools, like everybody's input is super important even more now, you know, because the position coaches got to really make sure the guys in their positions are ready.
Right.
You know, your work is going to be on display now by how many receivers or corners.
Oh, right. Because are you really coaching in your position now too? Right.
You like I always say this, you know, coaches worry about guys transferring in the off season. Well, my thing is, as a head coach, I just make sure that my position coaches were out there working with my guys during the off season, no matter what. You know what I mean? You can work with other trainers, but there has to be some sort of trust within your position coach at your school, right? To work with them. Same with basketball. I would say the same thing. If you're a point guard, you're an off guard, you're a forward, you should be working with your position coach and one of your assistant coaches during the off season. And I say assistants and position coaches because there's rules around the head coaches working with guys in the off season, number one. And there's, you know, the time, right? That's the only time that coach gets with his family sometime, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's cool to give the position coaches the opportunity to
do what they do.
Show your craft, show your development skills, show that you can keep our guys here because they believe in the relationships and things like those,
and not want to leave.
It's not a secret, I think.
Yeah.
But if a kid wants to go, he wants to go.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's another direction that high school sports is headed in, is the kind of allowing the kids to you know, the transfer process is going to change.
Dictate their own destiny.
Yeah, it was tough for a long time, and I think that now they're going to allow these kids to kind of do their own thing.
Wow. So that could mean more changes then.
Yeah, good ones though. For the high school, I think it's important.
Yeah. Okay.
If you allow it on the high school level, then you don't have to. You can get more teams that can challenge Bosco, more teams that can challenge Modern Day. You know, even if you don't think they're going to be a juggernaut program, but hey, they may be the one that slip up and get them this year. Some Cali school, you know, because those schools go and they travel. The Modern Days, the Boscos, and those type of schools, they travel and they get to see different teams from different states, the top teams from different states. So if you allow a little more flexibility in the transferring area for the high school kids in California, then hey, you know, you'll see more Modern Days and more Boscos built.
It's not like the basketball LeBron James cut and paste to get to a better team. Is that going for more development phases?
I mean, that's what they try to. I think they hang the reason that the hat of that reason on that. You know what I mean? They're like, yo, he you know, they just want to go over there because they're winning. Well, yeah, I want to win. They just want to go over there because they have a cool gym and they have a great weight room. Well, yeah, that's something else.
That might be.
What are you really, you know, holding the kids accountable to? Well, you should go to school because high school recruiting is illegal. But you should go to the local school and local. All right, that's cool. But what if the local school is not invested into that sport?
Right.
Who's holding the school accountable to that?
Right.
Is the district coming down? Is the state coming down? You know, why isn't the Modern Day, Bosco, Centennial, schools like that are high-end public schools? Why aren't they the model programs of copy and paste? I know some lower level programs that are phenomenal too. So this is not a shot at, oh, you got to be just like them. What I'm saying is people want to be at these programs for a reason.
Right.
They feel developed. They feel the opportunity to go to college. They feel the opportunity to be seen, be around greatness. And iron sharpens iron, you know. And if you're a competitor, you want to be when you look to your left,
you want to be in that environment. Yeah, you want to be in that environment.
Like, man, we out here, we about to go get it. And that's how it is with basketball, right? You want to look to your left, look to your right. You want to make sure, right? I don't care if you're in volleyball. When I want to know that you go, you got it too. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my whole thing. Like, how, you know, what the accountability. So
but you don't think that takes away from the fun of the game, though, or the love of the game, because it's more business? It's become more business.
Because look, think about this. People, and I know I'm not the only one, but like, all right, so let's say all the higher tier schools have filled their spots and they did enough. Like, right.
Right.
I
Okay.
stole the copy and pasted 10 times. Modern day, like we see in schools blow up.
Right.
But those kids here in lower level schools, they get the same effect because kids can still transfer to their schools that are not on that tier, or not so much not on that tier, not getting opportunity.
Right.
You can go to this tier and ball out, just like D1 FBS, or you can go D1 FCS. You still in D1 football playing at a high level, TV time, money, like it all still kind of comes together.
Right.
So if you're not in California D1, D2, D3 type level tier school, and you start to get into the D6, D7, D8, well, those schools can inherit some high-end caliber players because of the trickle effect, as we'll say, right? Like it's all going to trickle down. So I think to the flexibility in the transfers would be great
for that opportunity.
Yeah, man. Think about the kids that they're still. Hey, I don't care how great we've done as parents. There's still some people that got it hard that still live in the in the ghetto or live in the slums or
they don't get no looks.
What, man? They not getting looks, and he got game over there,
right?
Or he got all the talent raw, but he don't got the resources, so he is developed.
Yeah,
not socially.
Yeah,
because he's
especially not socially, right?
Because all he knows to do is keep his guard up, or all she knows to do is keep her guard up.
Right.
So you get into these environments, and now you got to develop socially. You got to develop the skills because they might have been hitting the weights good, or they might be real fast, or they might have measurable size. It might be something, but they're not getting the package.
Right. And
that's why you can look at a kid that goes to a certain program. I'm not gonna keep throwing names out there, and then look at kid and be like, man, why he look all round and ready to traps looking good, and this kid say he in the weight room every day, and we don't believe him.
Right.
But he in the weight room every day.
Yeah.
But his program, his responsibility, the people is not the same.
Yeah.
So,
and that social piece is the weight of life.
You get me?
That's
your trust factor to this world, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I can't move confidently and hold my head high if I think I'm looking over my shoulder, or everyone's looking at me, or they got the whispers. And we teach confidence.
Yeah.
And we teach it confidence and to believe in yourself. Don't matter what other people think, but I don't care what human on this planet
tell them
with the living energy,
right?
Can't help but care.
We still lack a lot. No, I don't believe anyone has a level of 100% confidence. There's going to be a lack of confidence in some area.
If you ever say, "Hey, I'm gonna do this," well, should I do that?
Right.
It don't have to be, well, man, I'm not confident because I'm not handsome or I'm not beautiful.
Right. Yeah, right.
Because it can literally just be the tendency of second guessing yourself.
Exactly. And that's enough to keep a player out.
Right. So I think that they should keep the flexibility there for the kids. I mean, monitor how it's being used. That's what it is. If Farron is a millionaire and he's like, "Hey, I want to put $1 million into this school's football program," I don't think that there should be anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
But there's some people that'll say, "Well, he put $1 million into the program, and now 10 really good kids wanted to go to that school." Well, hello.
What's wrong with that? But again, like you said, what's wrong with that?
And there we go again. Now, what's wrong with that, right? Well, what about the kids who were there? What about the kids who deserve that opportunity? That doesn't mean their opportunity won't be there. It just means that these kids also deserve that opportunity.
And building a program.
You're building a program. So I just have a thing right now where I'm like, please let these programs build, because there's right. There's a lot of good coaches, a lot of good trainers, a lot of good, 7-on-7 teams and programs that these coaches can be working at high schools and helping these teams be really good.
Really good.
But there's not enough stipend pay, and there's not enough coaching spots, and there's not enough trust between the 7-on-7 coaches and their style and the high school coaches and their style. But when that measure, that marriage happens, it's gonna get beautiful.
That's fascinating, right? Because that's you got different kind of concepts and playmaking and a lot of development that could match together. Like you said, that could work together.
Now, I mean,
fast-paced type of coach, and then your traditional coach. Come on, that's a good look. Now we doing stuff that people ain't gonna recognize. Like
right. Right.
Yeah,
And then, you know, it's just like if you look at college football to pro football, they started bringing in a lot of college style coaches to coach in the pros because the new offensive style, the tempo, the spread, the spreading of the offenses and things like that. You know, the how much field space it created, and so that's what I think would be the marriage, right? Like if I'm looking, if I'm a high school coach, I'm looking at the local 7-on-7 teams in my area, 2 or 3, and then I'm going to talk to those coaches and see if they have any interest on joining the staff, and then allow them to facilitate those programs through the high school where they can keep their players in their program and we can keep our players in our program.
Right.
We got our development for the off season and we have our in-season program and team.
Right. And that worked.
Great marriage.
That works.
That's where the pay would get good, you know, or having in someone who could cover fees or, you know, invest into the program. That's what I mean by cover fees is put, you know, if you put $100K into a football program, a high school football program, at least $100K, you could then pay at least 4 coaches $10K, 5 coaches $10K. If you could pay 5 coaches $10K or 7 or 8K.
Ooh, that's nice.
That would be okay for what's supposed to be 3 months of work, but you really get 7 or 8. You really get 7 or 8 months out of the coaches because starting the spring and you go into season.
Exactly.
They don't get that. The coaches, you know, not even 10,000 would only be about 1,200 a month.
Right.
What I just said for coaching.
Right.
You know how much amount, you know, you just spend that in gas and eating
all day.
So I just think that I'm not saying every team should find a booster. I just think that the boosters should do better with investing into the program. If the ADs and these programs are like, man, we got it, you know, well then why aren't we having more meetings about how to bring more money and more sponsorships into the schools and who's responsible all year long to reach out to different companies for our sponsorship? Because what happens is, what if they now want to sponsor volleyball or soccer as well?
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
But they don't. I'm not saying they don't see it that way, but it does take the work. It takes the commitment, and it takes the groundwork. The groundwork is more important. It is the most important. When I said work the first time, I meant like the admin of it, right? You got to put in the paperwork, all right. But when you got to actually do the groundwork and make the relationships and build with those people, get in your community,
that's the behind the scenes work that's got to take place.
I think that's more. That should be more of an athletic director's role, not just stamping who's cleared to play.
Ooh. All right, let's take this identification. This is the Farron Dozier Show, Trench Talk edition with some Life Tour Sports with Coach Will is here. We're gonna come back and wrap up the show. Thanks for checking us out. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh, man, that shot was cold,
I
man.
hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn, are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter has sickle cell trait. Do you know the facts that both parents have sickle cell trait? There's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the black community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man. There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org. Tune in to the Farron Dozier Show on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM, also streaming from the KCARadio.com website on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. Brought to you by Sports Collective TV, Sports Collective Radio, and Sports Collective Media. We got the Heme Factor, we got In the Zone, and we got Fourth Down in the 20-second timeout sports segment. All for you right here on the Farron Dozier Show on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM, also streaming from the KCARadio.com website with my guest hosts Robert Lamar and Coach Will. Catch us on Sports Collective Media on Instagram and Facebook, and make sure you watch us Sunday nights at 8 p.m. on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM, also streaming from the KCARadio.com website. Music, talk, sports, and so much more. Farron Dozier Show.
I just wanna breathe this name, my God. Lift this name up high, dedicate this vibe, give 'em all we got. Testify with our hands out, keep 'em up in the sky.
I just wanna praise. I just wanna praise. I just wanna praise. I just wanna praise. I made it up out of the city, avoided the hate and the gritty. Me and my little brother, my lovely mother, tried to make it easy, but we was some knuckles though. We used to let them knuckles throw. We used to let them chuckles go when we thought about the places we would go. Yeah, lights off. Yeah, no, really. Lights off. Yeah, no money. Lights off. Under the candlelight.
All right, so check this out. I got to do this clip, right? So let me see if I can knock this out in one take. You ready? You tuned into the Farron Dozier Show on nbradio.us, Trench Talk Edition, and Live Tour Sports. Catch me here Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, only on nbradio.us. Shout us out, what's the count? How'd I do? Was that a good take? That might work. What up, yo?
Yeah, that was the one right there.
Was that the one right there? Man, so I look forward to Sunday night, man. I think Sunday night show gonna be legit, bro. So
yeah, no, man, got a lot of people coming up, and I think that we have some really great conversation pieces. You know what I mean? But I'm about to turn it up, man. I've been chilling, man. I'm finna start getting my Coach Will on, man. I ain't got to be so politically correct right now.
Oh, Steve, praise the Lord.
On right now. Hey, I'm gonna start. Hey, I'm telling you, I'm a burn down. I'm about to burn a couple. I got some heat coming some people
clean,
way.
though. We keep it clean, though. We just
gonna keep it clean.
Tell the truth.
Heat coming some people way. I'm telling you, I got some blood, but it's only because they deserve it, man. You know what I mean? Some of the things should be talked about, and I'm gonna talk about it. You know what I mean? Just bringing good energy, man. I just want the people to know I'm good energy. I'm fun. I'm funny. I'm charismatic. I do it. You know what I mean? I can do it all. So, be going out for a couple roles I got coming up. And
see, leaking information already. Leaking it already.
Yeah, man. And shout out Team Dream Life. Y'all know what we do.
For sure, man. Appreciate you, man. Shouts out to Robert Lamar in the zone. Hey, make sure you go to Heme Factor.
Yes, sir.
On Instagram and at Sports Collective Media as well. You can find us all over there doing our stuff on the sports piece. Again, we're working to mend that relationship back between MB Radio and the Sports Collective on Sunday nights. I love KCA, but they had some technical difficulties, and we were sounding like trash. We can't be sounding like trash, so we're gonna figure out those minor details so we can start streaming back on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. with the relationship of simulcasting between KCAA and MBR. So, man, I appreciate you today, man, for hanging out.
You know what it is.
Let's get this weekend situated.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. All right, thanks for listening again to the Farron Dozier Show on MB Radio. If you got more information you want to find out about sickle cell trait, WDCONSCT.org. Oh yeah, I forgot. April 17th at 6 p.m. Go to farrond.com. I'm doing a veteran and family talk. I was asked to do another conversation about the transition and change. And again, this is kind of what we talked about at the beginning of the show. Transition and change for some of us are emotional and they're fractures. We teach that between elementary and middle school. By the time I'm going into middle school, I'm not talking to mom. Look in your own life right now and look for the empirical truth of this conversation. Imagine by the time I'm going to elementary and middle school, I'm not talking to mom and dad as much, right? Because I feel like I feel like they don't listen to me. They're not paying attention to me. Maybe I feel abandonment. Maybe I'm disappointed in my mom or dad. So now I'm going from elementary to middle school, and now I'm turning to my peers for love and acceptance because I don't think that I'm getting it from my home because of whatever the dynamic is going on at home. And this is not right or wrong, good or bad. This is just what we're talking about, how to interrupt some of these shootings, possibly some of these gang issues, some of the violence that happens in school, that child now turns to his peers for love and acceptance. And guess what happens? There's going to be a break in communication between that child and his peers. So we make decisions sometimes for us, some of us, between our father and mother that they don't love me, they don't care about me. You didn't come to my football game, Dad, so you must not care about me. Why was it there? Because the child's only thing, not only, but one of the main things children in those ages from birth until about 12, 13 to that peer age is what? I want time with my parents. I want time. I don't care about you got to go to work. I don't care about none of that. I want to spend time with you. Where are you at? And when those transitions break, especially for our military community, maybe you stationed somewhere for 3 years, you got to uproot your family and go somewhere else. Hey, do you not think about the transition for that child who now has all those friends that they've grown up for maybe 3, 4, 5 years, and then now they're uprooted to go to another location to go to school, and now I'm the new kid on the block. Like we talk about these things, but do we really talk from them, from our personal experiences, from what it feels like to be left at home at 8 years old? When they called us in my era a latchkey kid. A latchkey kid was a kid who had to come home by themselves, let themselves in the house with the key around their neck, lock the door, and don't turn the oven on, and don't cook, and don't answer the phone, and don't go outside until I get home. What about those of us who, or those of you, because I'm the latchkey kid by myself, what about those who had to raise their siblings at very young ages? Like you're 9 years old, but you're watching your baby brother and sister because mom has to go to work or dad is not there, or you got to, and so you're 9, 10, 11, 12, giving your baby sisters a bath and cooking for them. Do you know that some people take that experience as a child and feel like they missed out on their child life, and they grow up and they make decisions like, I'm not going to have no kids when I get older? Or even the disconnection between that sibling, because I had to raise you and take care of you, and I didn't get my fun, but you got to have your fun and go out and play. Well, I would have to be in the house taking care of the house because mom is at work. Like, these are the conversations that we're talking about. These are the conversations of transition. So I'm asked to do a talk April 17th, 6 p.m. Go to farrond.com. I titled it Shattered Thoughts, and it's dedicated for veterans and their families. But again, these conversations are people. All of us. If you're a professional athlete, imagine having to be gone and you gone to play your games out of state or out of country, and then you come home. My veteran community can understand this. They can relate to this because sometimes when you come back to your family from being deployed or being gone 8, 9 months, you gotta weave your way back into the family because the wife has been taking care of everything and holding it down, and you've been gone. Now you got to transition. You got to transition back into the family. And now your children are trying to figure out who you are, or how long you're going to be here for now. When are you leaving? Like, these are the things that are not just labeled as veteran issues. Police officers, they have to leave their families at night. Firefighters, doctors, nurses, no coaches. No one escapes this experience. I don't believe anyone escapes it. We all have our own version of this. And these are the things that lead to these emotional conversations. And we say mama issues and daddy issues. And yeah, there are. There are, because we as children make up stories to survive those moments of time. And if your brain is giving you false information, or you don't have the full story of what's going on in your family, then I'm going to make up my own story, and that becomes my truth. And now nothing that you tell me as mom and dad can penetrate my heart, because I've blocked that off, because I made up my truth now. And some of us are living like this as adults. We're in our 30s, and I'm 55, and I'm just peeling off these layers of my own life, healing with my mom and my dad before he passed. And now I'm turning to my peers, because there's some issues I got that I'm working on these last 14 years that I've healed with my dad before he died. I'm so grateful for that. And now at 54, turning 55, I heal with my mom completely. So now what's next for me? Well, guess what? My friendship relationships, they don't really work. Because why? Because of my peer aid decision that I made at 14, at 6 years old. Those transitions. So that's what I talk about on this platform, on all of my platforms. And so the talk is at farrond.com. I think there's about 16 spots out of 30 left. It's virtual. It's private. You can only get in with the password and the email, but it's virtual, so you can have your family watch in your house. It's not Zoom. It's on the Breakthrough Show Network's platform. And so she got it all designed and set up, a beautiful artistic looking room, but you'll be like on camera like this in your home. And I'm going to open up the floor, and I'm going to just take questions. You can ask me anything about my life or my journey. And I'm going to share of how I've been able to heal my parents' relationships with my daughters that I had to go back and heal with, being this soldier that I took on in this life. And again, it's a human being conversation, but we're definitely dedicating this for our veterans and their families, because that transition and change for some is emotional. And if we don't heal those fractures early on in age, I don't want people to wait till they're 40 like I was to figure out that my parents did the best they could with what they had. I don't want you to wait to have to figure out, go talk to your mom and dad to find out how it was for them when they grew up in their environment. If your grandparents are still alive, go talk to your grandparents and find out what it was like when they were born. If your great grandparents are alive, go talk to them and find out how was life when they grew up. Because if you do that, then you can get a sense of, well, no wonder we act like that. Well, no wonder we have these upsets or these frustrations, or the way that life was for them. That parent is now trying to protect you from what they experienced, but that's not their life. This is your life. You see the disconnection? As a father, if I'm worried about what I went through and happened to me, I put that worry on my children, but that's not my children's life that I had. That's their life. They might have a whole nother worry or concern about life that's not the same as mine, as their father. So I got to be able to put my worries and concerns aside and find out, what are you worried about, my daughters? And each one has a different worry and concern for life. But as parents, we want to protect them, and we want to make sure they turn out and not have these things happen to them. But that might not be what they worried about. So because you're worried about what you worried about and not what they're worried about, because I'm the daddy or the mama, now there's rebellion. Now that child's not going to listen to you because you're not listening to me. And they tell you. They tell us when we're not paying attention to them. So how do we teach this conversation to soften the hearts of us as parents, to soften the hearts of that child? And Malachi 4, 5, and 6 says, returning the hearts of our children back to their parents, and the hearts of their parents back to their children. Luke 1:17 is the same scripture in the New Testament. Reconciliation and self-forgiveness. That's how we restore these hearts. That's how we alter our country. But you got to alter yourself first. We talk about it, but do we be about it? And on the Farron Dozier show, hey, we be about it. The human experience is so important. We cannot discount our human experience. I can always ask you, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, guess what? Don't ask me what I'm going to do. Ask me who am I going to be? Am I going to be patient? Am I going to be upset and frustrated? I'm going to do what I'm going to do regardless. But the experience of what I'm doing is most important. And we've been so hurt by one another that I don't want to feel that no more. Just do it, man. Because I don't even have the energy or the whatever to feel that emotional because I've been disappointed. I've experienced shame. I've experienced embarrassment, and I don't want to feel that today, bro. So just do it. If you're going to do it, don't do it. No, that doesn't work. That's why we are the way we are in this country in some fashion. So I appreciate you. That's my spiel. April 17th, 6 p.m., farrond.com. You can go right there on the website, click the link, register. It's private. It's not on YouTube. It's a private because I want people to experience, hey, you can open up and share. It's not for a show. This is really a way, because if I have it in Paris, California, you can't get to Paris, California, then you don't get a chance to be there in face-to-face. So we utilize the virtual world to have these kind of conversations. So I wanted to try it in the virtual. I had the first one in person. It was very good. I got some healing from the first one for myself. But this one I wanted to have it to where people can actually log in and be in your own home and see this. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a PhD doctor. I'm a patient advocate, and I'm speaking from my own personal experience as a father, as a son, as a dad, as a grandpa, as a veteran. And for me, I had a lot of emotional transitions that I discovered at 55, the last 14 years now. So I appreciate y'all for listening in. Great episode today. Shouts out to Big Dre and our guests, Coach Will, Robert Lamar. Hey, I'm out of here. We appreciate you for hanging out today. Let me take this off because that ticker is gonna go when I'm out of here. Peace out. FarronD.com for sure. And at Farron Dozier on all platforms if you want to be a guest. Shout us out. What's the count?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.